to unpack the key components of Nigeria's economic landscape. We're going to talk about the importance of diversifying the economy away from our oil dependence, of course. We'll talk about the role of infrastructural development and the significance of fostering innovative and entrepreneurship in the country. So let's examine all the sectors that we need to focus on and beam a spotlight on. So we do believe that we should engage the listeners, and right after the session with our guest on the program today, would open the phone lines to get your perspective. Well, for the conversation today, as we look to define the path for national growth and economic recovery for Nigeria, we do have Obyx. He's an entrepreneur. He's the CEO Obyx Technology. He's a media executive, the publisher of 9 News Nigeria. He's also the founder of My Life Nigeria, and many believe he is a philanthropist. It's such a pleasure to have you join us today, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. It's my pleasure joining from here in Melbourne, Australia.
Yes.
I will say good morning from here.
Well, thank you so much. And we understand that it can be an inconvenience, but we appreciate the fact that you're willing to stay awake just to talk to us. You're in Melbourne, so chances are it's about 2-3 a.m. So thank you so very much for your time. And we hope that this is as interactive as possible. So let's get straight into the conversation. Defining the path to economic recovery as a nation. We're focusing on Nigeria. Let's start from the beginning. Let's understand how we even got here. Because many times when people talk about our current state as a nation, we're about 64 years old. And when people talk about where we are as a nation, we see people pointing fingers to the fact that, well, we were colonized at some point. And so it might be difficult to recover fully or find yourself as a nation if for many years you were under the control of colonizers. But then again, there are many countries just like us that were colonized in the past. And decades later, we can see how well their economies have grown. We can see how somewhat independent they have become. Many African countries, Ghana, for example, our sister Ghana here, was also colonized, but they have been able to find their footing in the world economy. So what then exactly, or what exactly has been the largest impediment to Nigeria's growth? And can we continue to blame the fact that we were colonized for our very slow growth?
All right. Thank you for this great opportunity to speak to our people. I've been privileged to speak in other interviews, and I personally write numerous articles which were published in national dailies and other platforms, giving my own part of it, advising the country, the leaders, on what should be done, because for us who are in diaspora, it's always our utmost desire. We are longing and thirsty. We are so hungry. In fact, we are starving to see a Nigeria that works for everyone. But it hasn't happened for now, and we're still pressing forward. So, starting with your responding to what you said, I would say leadership, and I would say again leadership, and I would say again leadership 3 times. We haven't gotten a good leader who is selfless, who understands the world dynamics in terms of politics. The issue we have in Nigeria, and I've taken time to study the trends, the trends and the way we Africans and black people, Nigeria inclusive, the way we handle things. We are very, very selfish in nature. So, and it extends to when people are sent to the position of authority as leader. So that is the problem. First and foremost is leadership issue. We lack that leadership. Like you said, we have countries who started just like us. I happen to be privileged to have stayed in many countries all over the world. And the one that Nigerians make reference to many times, Singapore. I've been in Singapore. I followed Lee Kuan Yew's style. I read about him, and in fact, I was with him, until he died. I followed how he was able to handle Singapore from a colonized, just independent country who Nigeria supported. Is there in Singapore archives. You will see how Nigeria supported them, paid the school fees for their students at a time. But he managed, because he sacrificed his everything he wanted to crave for or to covet. He sacrificed them and embraced integrity as a good leader. And I was responding to a friend who sent me what Jumoke Oduwole, the newly appointed, one of the new ministers, what she said during a program, and I was responding, and I said, the problem we have is leadership. We need a leader who will drive the momentum and show a great leadership example that people will follow. Nigerians are very good people that if the leader is good, they will follow suit. So I'll stop here for now.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's talk about the foundation of our challenges. You have mentioned politics, right? And political parties, for one, they're believed to be the drivers of democracy. And we have been privileged enough to enjoy at least over 2 decades of uninterrupted democracy. And we've had political parties. They originally are the ones that would field the candidates. They form the pool that we choose from for those who lead us. What would you say about the activities of political parties and the influence that they have on the caliber of leaders that we have had to choose from over time? And we understand that democracy is for, by, and of the people, but we have to consider the fact that even if we have the freedom to choose, there are still certain people that give us those that we can choose from, and the political parties are the ones who typically take care of this. So talk about political parties, talk about the way politics is played in Nigeria, and talk about the influence that it has had on us as a people and the kind of leadership that we have endured in this part of the world.
All right. In terms of political parties and the politics that we play in Nigeria, having lived in Western country for a while, a long time, I would say, and getting involved in their affairs, I would say that the way we play politics, we haven't started. Sorry to say, and I said it a few years ago in an interview. I said that Nigerian politicians are just out there for themselves. They are just seeking their selfish, satisfaction. So because we haven't been able to identify our political views and belief system. If you watch, for example, today we saw the election, we saw the politics that was played in USA. We know that if you follow every member of any political party in the Western world who taught us democracy, you see that if someone is a Democrat, he is a strong believer in democratic beliefs, and whatever the party believes is what that person believes, strongly. Whatever is the manifesto of that party is what his life, even their lifestyle, the lifestyle of a Democrat. We know a Democrat by the lifestyle he's living straight away, and you know a Republican by the lifestyle they are living. Here in Australia, if someone is a liberal, is in the Liberal Party, even in Britain, because it's the same kind of political party that is in Britain. in Australia, in Canada, in USA, in New Zealand. It's the same kind of thing. They have the liberals, the leftists and rightists. Haven't really, they don't understand what they're doing. They just, for example, someone can be a presidential candidate in the APC, and when he loses, he will change to PDP straight away. And you will see someone that is in APC change to whatever. So you can't dictate, or you can't even predict someone's belief system from their political alliance, because they can change. They can change swiftly. So that is the problem. So if we will say, which is not so civilized to say, that we have to put in place a law that forbids somebody from changing from political party within a specific period of time, maybe 4 years or even 5 years, so that if someone is in a political party, he will be entrenched with the doctrine and the manifesto and belief system of that political party. So that is the problem. We don't have direction, no direction. And when someone comes into power, because there's no laid down direction for him to follow, he will bring in complete, strange and new perception, and it doesn't all go well. It's not working for us. So and also it just also goes back to lack of pure patriotism. We don't have people in that leadership cycle who are really patriotic about the country. They don't love the country. They just love themselves.
If you're just joining the program, I'm here having conversations with Obiᴛᴜ. He's the CEO of Oභix Technology. He's a media executive. He's the publisher of 9 News Nigeria and also the founder of My Life Nigeria, and he is a philanthropist. Together, we're having a conversation about defining the path of economic recovery for Nigeria. How can we recover from this huge economic blow that we have suffered over the course of the years? We're focusing on Nigeria. We're defining the path for national growth and economic recovery. We've spoken about why we have been so slow to progress if we're juxtaposing the pace of growth between Nigeria and other countries of the world that were equally colonized. There are many countries that we gained our independence within the same period of time, but they are way above us in terms of economic growth. We also spoke about politics, the political instability, the role of political parties, and also the need to adjust the law to fix some of the anomalies within our political party structure in Nigeria. And now I want us to segue to the part of the conversation that is around economic diversification. Unfortunately, we are now a country that relies heavily on oil revenue. If anything goes wrong within the oil value chain, Nigeria feels it significantly. There's a shock that is sent through every sector of our economy. And once upon a time, agriculture was the main source of revenue for Nigeria. Way before the discovery of oil, we had contribution to GDP as far back as 1950. Agriculture accounted for about 72% of our GDP. Mining and crude, for example, accounted for only about 1.1%. We had foreign exchange earnings. At least 80% of our foreign exchange earnings was from agricultural exports. We had employment. 70% of our employed persons at the time were involved in agriculture. And I could go on and on and on about all the many benefits that focusing on agriculture posed to us as a nation. But then we discovered crude oil, and then we got money. We became rich, and then we abandoned all the other sources of revenue that we knew as a nation. Talk to us about how our decision to depend on oil in a way has become one of the bane of our economic development in the country. How is it that something that was supposed to take us out of the stagnation that we were in at some point is now so much responsible for our inability to move forward as a nation?
Yep. So the problem with the oil and the proceeds and the stagnation and poverty that we still are facing irrespective, is it boils down to the leadership issues that I'm talking about. If we have a leader who could drive the momentum, there's no way others won't follow suit. So it depends on how, as you can see, the trajectory of leadership we've had since independence. We have the first politicians, Awolowo, Azikiwe, and the other man from the north. And soon after that, there was coup, and the military took over, and then the trajectory. And so if you look at leadership has a lot of role to play in a national development, So from there, there was war until 1999 when Obasanjo came in as an elected leader, so as a civilian leader, so to say. So, and soon after Obasanjo, the other guys that came in, and then Buhari, and then we went back to military, and you see how much Abacha and Buhari regimes, how much they looted Nigeria treasury, So all these things that the leaders did, we haven't gotten a leader who say, hey, man, we need to, do something in the right way. And I tell you the truth, Nigerians are very good people. If we ever have a good leader, you will see how Nigeria will transform. It's just about leadership. So the leaders we've had so far are the ones that believe in just, taking the money to themselves, siphoning our money to foreign countries. So, and when the pocket is leaking, there's no way for saving, because someone could have said, oh, why didn't we save money? We're supposed to save, but who is going to save the money? The person that should save the money is siphoning the money. You see how many years it has taken us to repatriate the monies that Abacha has looted. And this is about Abacha because he's dead. The other people that are still alive are protecting their own loots. That's why it's not kind of elusive, it's not open how much has been looted from the coffers from the national commonwealth. So it's leadership. The things that needs to be done, the things that need to be done, they are not kind of rocket science. They're just common sense. It's very easy to fix Nigeria, even as it is, as bad as it is right now. It's easy to fix Nigeria, but we need a dogmatic leader.
Let's talk about policies, right? Policies are very necessary for national growth because they more or less help the government to meet the needs of their people and also to achieve economic growth, so to speak, right? It's basically, think of it as the central guide to governance. That's what policies are. So we're not just picking things out of the box. You have the opportunity to think about these policies, to prepare for whatever backlash might come for it, or to prepare for whatever outcome and how to deal with the outcome. Every policy is supposed to take care of at least a specific problem, and that's why we even have secondary or supplementary policies that can help to take care of whatever lacuna the first policy causes. And this is me just trying to expand on policies and the fact that there is flexibility for policies. But then we see that there are some policies, or the success of a policy, especially for a country like Nigeria, is somewhat dependent on the immediate gratification that it can give to the people. If you kickstart a policy, people expect that at least they begin to see the benefits in the economy within a certain period of time. So let's have a conversation about policy somersaults. let's talk about how policies sometimes can cause more harm than good. And in situations where policies that are meant to solve a specific problem now become a problem in itself, how exactly are we supposed to take care of this? Let's talk about the most common policy. And I know that we are starting to sound like a broken record when we keep talking about the policy of subsidy. It's a conversation that has gone on for way too long, but it's the most common, easy to understand illustration that we can use in this time. Every single person that was contesting to the president has said that we would remove fuel subsidy. Is not sustainable. It's taken away from us, and then the money that is supposed to go into subsidy we would use for other sectors of the economy. Now, people of course lamented, but some had hope that at least if other sectors are fixed, maybe we would not be too embittered buying PMS at a high amount of money. But then it would seem like the prices continue to increase, and then the people do not see the benefits. But they tell us, wait, in another couple years, in a decade or so, you will be thankful that we made this decision. What do you think about policies? What should the process of policy formation be like? What should policy sequencing be like? And in the event of a policy somersault, how can we rectify it?
Okay. Because we some of the governments that we've witnessed, they do not lack good policies, so to say. I remember during Buhari's era, I remember when the economic team was set up and they were going to Abuja carrying portfolios and they were making recommendations. Some of them were outstanding and good, but one of the problems is when you make policy and it's not done, there's no transparent way of executing those policies. We haven't been so transparent enough that policies will be executed in a proper way that will yield good results. So, and you know that whatever thing that is done in darkness, brings evil. So that's the problem. There's no transparency. Even when we have a policy that could yield good results, it's not done in a transparent way. For example, the removal of first subsidy that you mentioned, that was a short-sighted policy that shouldn't be in place at this point in time. That was the last straw. That was the real problem that catalyzed. It's just the main issue that caused Nigeria this hardship that people are facing was that removal of fuel subsidy, which we know when you look at things from far away, you are able to see it holistically. We know that even the removal of fuel subsidy was not done in transparency as well, and it shouldn't be the policy for now anyway, being that the whole economy of Nigeria is run on that fuel. Every aspect of Nigerian economy is run on fuel for now. There's epileptic power supply, and let's just say someone who is in hospitality, who runs hotel, depends on buying the fuel and diesel to power the hotel. Someone who is who is running bakery depends on fuel or diesel to run his bakery. Someone who is sewing cloth by the roadside depends on the fuel he has to put on the generator. So every aspect of our economy and our life is still dependent on fuel. So we shouldn't, whatever thing you do to restrict people or to hike the price of fuel, definitely affect the economy straight away. So that is why in Western countries, they do not hike prices. Any price change maybe in cents, you know. It doesn't go like from $1 to $2. Impossible. Nothing goes like that. It can go from $1 to $1.01 or $1.05 at most, and then people will start crying. But here in Nigeria, we see that a leader can come up and make a policy that could cause the price of a commodity to, you know, go 10 times higher. That is crazy. I'll tell you that. So,
well, this is the situation room on mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. We're here having conversations about how we can define the path to national growth and economic recovery. What are the things that we need to do if we're serious about making progress as a nation? Why has our growth been so slow? Why is it that all the decisions of those at the helm of affairs in some way or the other have complicated our problems when in fact they're meant to bring succor to the people? Let's talk about neocolonialism and influence of the West. As you know, the IMF, the World Bank, many other financial institutions, we have relationships with other countries as well. They recommend certain policies to us. They think we should do certain things. They would advise us to devalue our currency. They would advise us to increase our interest rate. In fact, they will offer us multiple loans. Mind you, our current loan is around 121 trillion naira. That's how much money we owe right now, our external debt. But they continue to borrow us money regardless. They tell us to do all of these things. They give all these projections. We're projected to grow. Our GDP is projected to grow by 3% by the end of the year, amongst other things. And then the IMF again tells us in the same breath that before we start to feel the influence of the government policies and all the recommendations that they have given, it will take another decade and a half and what have you. And so it has caused many Nigerians to question the influence of the West, the impact of global economic trends on us as a nation. What do you think about the relationship that we have with these international financial organizations? The fact that we continue to take their recommendations, or the fact that we take their recommendations without considering our own specific issues, without solving the foundational issues that we have before implementing these policies of the West. What do you think about that?
It's a fact that this is a big, many times it's been a big issue among we in diaspora. We talk about the influence, interference of the West, of the neocolonialism, effect on the colonized countries. So, and my take towards it is, everyone is a businessman. Every country is a business country. The West tend to they fight tooth and nail to protect what they own. They fight tooth and nail to protect what they own, which in this regard is us, is the countries that they've colonized. And they eat from us. The economy can't stand if they're not taking from us. So these are the things I tend to also relate to some of my friends who are in the leadership position in Nigeria, some of my political friends, politician friends. So I tend to let them know that there's this game that's going on in the world. It's a game. It's a game. You that is a politician, a senator, or the president or governor, understand that your counterpart in for instance in Australia, if he comes to have a meeting, or from China, if he comes to have a meeting with you, all he wants is how to take from you and go and give to the people, because the West don't want their people to suffer. I was sharing with one of my friend in Tinubu's cabinet how much here in Australia the government is paying for someone that is disabled. They spend at least $300,000 a year, which is in terms of Nigerian money is about 400 million for one person in a year. So, and if you have retired, they are old people, they don't want them to suffer. They spend a lot of money, so there have to be places where they gather this money, and the third world countries pay the price. So when you listen to the IMF or World Bank giving you loans, and there is just it's like a Trojan horse, you know. There's a payload that is attached to those loans that they are giving us. But if we prove to be smart enough that we should be, because the average Nigerian is very smart, but the smartness doesn't, extend to our leaders. It's just our leaders that make themselves to be vulnerable to their counterparts. So, and I have seen this situation in Singapore where Lee Kuan Yew, had discussion with the West, and Singapore became a financial hub for the West because they understood that he knew what they knew, and they agreed on the terms. So these are the things that if we have good leaders who understand the dynamics of the global politics, and such person will be able to negotiate with the Western leaders, and then they let go of us, and they still have what they need, and we still have what we need, and we coexist and prosper at the same time. So that's the thing. They're not giving us the right advice. What they told us to do was not right. It wasn't right, but it's for them to protect their own. So we have to understand that if I'm doing business with you, you're protecting your interest. You're protecting your interest, and I have to protect my interest. And if we are both wise enough, we come to the equilibrium whereby you earn and I earn. So it becomes a mutual benefit for either side. But we haven't got the right leadership that should, lead the way to attain such equilibrium.
Let's talk about sectoral growth. Many times, or I'm one that is known to encourage growth in the informal sector because they're more or less the pillars of any country's economy. If there's a country that has been able to attain economic excellence, if you investigate, you would see that they have focused a lot on the informal sector. They focus on the artisans, they focus on the small scale farmers, they focus on the store owners, the SME, the one that has just 9-10 employees that's able to take care of local needs amongst other things. Let's talk about sector specific growth in the country, right? Let's talk about the manufacturing sector, for example, the service sector. We're talking artisans, the ones that offer services. Let's talk about technology. All of these sectors are very significant. Agriculture, education, amongst others. I know that there's no one sector that is more significant than the other, but even in the budget, for example, there are certain sectors. Security, for one, takes the lion's share of every single budget. Health also takes a lion's share. Education takes a lion's share because they understand the significance of these sectors in the overall growth of the country. If you were to do an appraisal of the attention that we have paid to significant sectors of our economy in Nigeria, are you pleased, or do you think it's a lot more work we need to do in those sectors?
Yeah, there are a lot we need to do. We have to do a lot more because those sectors are actually the pillars of economy as well. That's why I mentioned when I said that the fuel subsidy removal, so to say, removal in quotes, was a kind of a short-sighted policy, and because it hampers, it destroys those, SMEs, those, small businesses which run the economy. I mean, I was discussing with someone. I said, because I always make reference to the Western countries, because after all, we learned most of these things we are doing from them. So we should, if we learn from them, we should as well emulate them. So the government policies in the Western world focus on empowering the SMEs and empowering, any business. Like here, if I want to set up a new business, the government will give me every incentives that I need to make that business to stand. So we need to, and I fall back again to transparency. The government have put many policies in place, but they are not transparent. Like if you say SMEs, these are the things we put in place to support you. It doesn't follow that, pattern. It goes crooked way, in a way that is so, not transparent. And then the people that should benefit from such policy end up, being estranged from the access to it. So that is the issue. There are many things that Nigeria, if we have a leader who could enforce transparency. So I was happy that Tinubu starts to be strict with some of his cabinet members, even sacking some of them. Is good. It's good that he took that decision, because but if you maintain that trend whereby people that are working under him are aware that they have to play by the rule or they'll get kicked out, and he himself sit up as well, it will go a long way to help us. And the agricultural sector, government, even Buhari set up policies to help farmers. But the problem, those funds and the system that was set up doesn't get to the grassroots, to the people that should benefit from it. So that is the issue of transparency as well. And then the enabling environment for doing business is not that conducive. It's not that conducive. Look at if you want to import goods, there's no transparent system that will allow you to pay your duties and to make sure that what you are supposed to pay is what you paid. There's all these bottlenecks that's in place in doing business in Nigeria. I happen to have tried to bring foreigners to Nigeria, and we met a lot of bottlenecks that made them to go back. So these are the issues we are facing in Nigeria, and I will continue to say it's about leadership. Because I'm saying this because I support President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but I want him to be able to do the right thing, because right now Nigeria is very, very, very in need of his good governance. Because if this government doesn't do the right thing, Nigeria will go so much bad. Things will go so very bad. So that's why I'm crying. I spend money. I do everything to make sure that we lend them a voice, to enable them to understand that this is the right way to go in doing things.
Let's talk about foreign direct investment. It is significant. Every country, even the largest economies in the world, look to other countries to invest in their nation. It can help to improve any country's economy. It can provide capital. It can help to improve infrastructure, even increase exports, right? If you have foreign direct investment, your ability to export products out of the country somewhat increases. Even improves management of the market, amongst many other things. But as it stands, Nigeria currently, the second quarter of 2024 this year, the MBS had told us that our foreign direct investments into the country had dropped to about 29.83 million trillion naira. It's the lowest ever recorded based on available data. And we have analysis of this data that even the latest capital importation report by the NBS also shows that FDI dropped by 65.33% compared to the $86.03 million that was recorded in the same period last year. So it's very, very clear that investor confidence in Nigeria has been eroded. And we have a president that has taken multiple trips since he came into power, hoping to woo investors to believe in Nigeria, invest in our economy, because we have a lot to offer. But then investors do not believe in us and here in the country as much natural disasters as other countries. So we can sustain ourselves, and we should be the #1 destination when it comes to FDI. But unfortunately, we keep recording low numbers of investment in the country, despite all the many incentives that we have offered to these investors. Why is this the case? I mean, we know why, but then how do we rectify this? How do we ensure partnership? How do we restore the confidence of foreign investors in our country to boost our economic growth?
All right, that's a very, very pertinent, very great question, and that is a very big issue, because every country needs the other person. Every country needs partnership, doing business with another country. And let me just tell you that many countries, like for example China, Chinese companies, US companies, Australian companies, Asian companies, every country you see are looking for opportunities. And that Nigeria is very, very, very good. Nigeria has the opportunity to attract foreign direct investors because we have the population. Nigeria is at least 220 million people, and that 220 million is economy. Is economy, is a big economy in terms of doing business. So Nigeria should be a place where many tech companies, manufacturers, different kind of people are coming to invest their money. But the problem is that the enabling environment has not been put in place. The issues, three major issues, I would say. Three major issues. First of all is security issues. Number one. Number two is our style of, implementing policies in terms of doing business. Doing business in Nigeria is one of the hardest because of the bureaucracy. The people that will sign common thing for you, like there's something I've been registering in Abuja there since it's been, although at a point I left them, it's been 3 years now. They haven't finished with it. And it's affecting me with the company I have here, a company that I need to do something together for that registration. The environment, business environment hasn't been conducive enough. And then there's security issues, and then there's this power issue, electricity. So these are the three things that are majorly affecting, foreign investors from coming into Nigeria. And the government hasn't decided to focus on one aspect of those three major issues to fix it. When Buhari was in power, I was hoping that he would, single out electricity and fix it. He couldn't. They just, run pillar to pole. We'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do this, we'll do that. If it's electricity, if it's power, fix it. And to worsen it all, coming to say that you remove fuel subsidy was, I don't know. That was the greatest war out of them all.
before we round off, because we have to let you go in about 10 minutes to accommodate contributions, I want us to now talk about the recovery model that we can consider. Many countries in the world have suffered economic shock. Many countries in the world have gone through a downtime when it comes to their economy. COVID, for example, threw the entire world into panic, and we had countries that were able to get themselves back in a number of years. I mean, we do have to applaud Nigeria. We recovered rather quickly from COVID, although we still have a lot more work to do. But let's talk about Denmark, for example. I'm talking outside other countries. What they did in trying to fix their economy or recover when they went through a difficult economic period, they created some sort of digital marketplace for small businesses, right? They helped SMEs to gain access to the market. Norway, for example, they distributed their oil revenue so that the country could grow. Even the United Nations, for countries that are victims of war, for example, they did something like a post-conflict recovery strategy for these countries. And these are models that countries of the world have been able to adopt to solve the specific problem that they are going through. War-torn countries came up with a recovery model. Countries that had more poor people than wealthy people came up with a model to make sure that there was equitable wealth distribution within the country, amongst other things. So what recovery model do you think Nigeria should adopt? What countries of the world do you think have gone through similar economic issues like Nigeria? Or what methods do you think they employed that we as a country should start to consider as we begin this journey to national growth and economic recovery?
Okay, thank you so much. You are well versed with the knowledge of things. That's very good. And I want to start by saying that President Tinubu, one major thing he must do right now is to start subsidizing things. Number one, he must subsidize is the cost of fuel. That thing is killing Nigeria. Average Nigerians spend every money they have. If they want to see electricity in their house, someone can spend his whole monthly salary to be able to power generator. It's outrageous. It's killing the people. People are dying because of this common short-sighted policy. People are dying. The first step right now, because before ever you wait for a policy, to bear fruit, you must be alive first. You can't wait until Nigerians, Nigerians are terminated or they all die off. So that, as you mentioned, countries all over the world, how they solve economic tensions or crisis is by subsidizing, by providing for the people. You bear me witness during the global economic recession. How did the world solve it? By helping companies like companies or factories that employ, they have major employees or big employees like auto industries and major factories. Government give them money to sustain them. Here in Australia, during COVID, what Australia did is that they were paying money to companies to be still paying workers their salary even while they are at home.
All right.
So yes, subsidizing things is a major way of boosting an economy. If government doesn't subsidize, there won't be much growth in the economy. So that's one major thing he has to do right now. And second thing he has to do is to look at the means of doing business. Look at right now, Nigeria, we don't have, for example, we are not manufacturing enough food for ourselves, especially rice. Such thing like rice, he will put a policy whereby rice importation is subsidized so that there will be food. in the country. So it's not by increasing the tax on some commodities, some things that the country really needs. You don't have to impose heavy tax, importation duties on those things. So, and some people will argue, oh, we don't have to do that, but I'll say, look at Dubai. How did United Arab Emirates attract investors? They attracted investors by, first of all, creating free trade zones. They created free trade zones because when they discovered oil and they have oil, they make income, but it's not enough. They need the world to come to them, so they created free trade zone. Free trade zone allowed China, allow India, and poor countries that manufacture things to import those goods they manufacture free into Dubai. And then the whole world will be coming to Dubai to buy. And Singapore is doing the same thing. So there are things, we don't have enough time, but there are things at this topic that we need to explore more things about this topic, what the government should do.
Well, before I let you go, right, I think there's something that we should very briefly talk about, and I'd appreciate if you can respond to me in the 2 minutes that we have left before our commercial break. Let's talk about ethnic and social division. Unfortunately, we are a country that should benefit from our diversity as a people. The different regions have peculiarities to them that we should put together to benefit the entire nation, but there are notions that one region is enjoying the center more than the other. Some people are neglected, some people are enjoying power, amongst other things. And whether we like it or not, notions like this one are contributors to the limitation of economic growth that we see in the country, right? So let's talk about ethnic division and polarization, and how these ethnic and social division in a way can be a catalyst to the poor or reduced pace of economic growth. The fact that we cannot agree for once, how this can be a problem to speeding up our economic growth as a people.
That is a very, very, very sensitive and big issue, because the politicians, they have seen the vulnerability of the citizens, and they weaponize those things, segregation, tribalism and religious bigotry. They use it as a weapon, and they cast that spell on the people. And instead of us loving each other, we see each other as different people, and then manipulate through that to gain political power. And by so doing, when someone is doing the wrong thing as a leader, because he's my religious, he belongs to my religion or is my tribe, I won't be able to stand up to tell him that what you're doing is wrong, or to vote him out during election. And these are seeds of discord that's being sown in the heart of us, we citizens, that are imaginary. They are not real. They are not real, because as soon as you leave the shores of Nigeria and you go to any other country, you are classified as a black person. You're not even classified as a Ghanaian. You're not classified as a Togolese or Nigerian. All black people are classified the same. But when we are in Nigeria, the politicians, they, kind of divide us, able to weaponize the division and use it for their advantage. So I will say to my fellow citizens, there's no difference in us. We don't have any difference. If you hear here in the Western world, there's so much diversity here in the Western world than even in Nigeria, because we just have tribal segregations or religious. But here in Australia, you have all kind of the whole world are here. But still, the government manage them together. So what are we fighting for? So that's the thing that Yeah.
Thank you so very much. We're actually due for a break. I would have to let you go because we need to take phone calls, and it might be impossible to have you on the phone and take the phone calls. I hope that you are still able to listen to us via the live stream for the contributions. Thank you so very much, sir. We appreciate you for your time. Do have a beautiful morning.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. All right, well, there you have it. We had Obinna Ejaya. He is an entrepreneur. He is the CEO of Oභix Technology. He's a media executive, a publisher of 9 News Nigeria, and the founder of My Life Nigeria. He's also a philanthropist. We spoke to him. He's all the way in Melbourne, Australia. It's about 3 a.m., but we had to keep him up just to hear from him. So we appreciate him. And we spoke about defining the path for national growth and economic recovery. We're going to go for a break. When we come back, we'll open the phone lines to take your perspective on the subject matter. As the Situation Room, I'm Sage Babalola, and I'm hoping to hear from you. Please stay with us.
Hey there! Yes, you! You just won 5,000 Naira cash! And you, sitting by the side, there's 1 month Showmax subscription to watch the Premier League waiting for you! You behind! Of course! You're not left out! How does 1,000 Naira airtime and 2,000 Naira Uber discount sound? All this could come true when you buy the No Unwrap and Win pack. Open it, look for a cube with a 6-digit code on its wrapper, text the code to 8011 and follow the prompts to stand a chance to win any of these instant prizes. Promo valid from July till December. Terms and conditions apply. Get extra value on the No Unwrap and Win pack. No, eat for good.
Follow us on all our social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM. On Twitter at Mainland FM. We are the sound of Lagos.
Hey there! Yes, you! You just won 5,000 Naira cash! And you, sitting by the side, there's 1 month Showmax subscription to watch the Premier League waiting for you! You behind! Of course! You're not left out! How does 1,000 Naira airtime and 2,000 Naira Uber discount sound? All this could come true when you buy the No Unwrap and Win pack. Open it, look for a cube with a 6-digit code on its wrapper, text the code to 8011 and follow the prompts to stand a chance to win any of these instant prizes. Promo valid from July till December. Terms and conditions apply. Get extra value on the No Unwrap and Win pack. No, eat for good.
Listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. The sound of Lagos.
Things seem anxious and uncertain. I understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways, but there is not. If there were,
In our quest to bring to the table issue-based conversation around nationhood and development, we have made 4 to 5:30 p.m. Monday to Friday the perfect time to welcome you into the Situation Room as we continue to build the narrative about public service and accountability.
Mr. President, this Senate needs to know. Mr. President, this Senate needs to lend its voice to the plight of these people. Mr. President, there is nowhere I can say it except here. This is why I'm elected. If I cannot say these things on this floor, sir, I better resign and leave.
As elections give the citizens the chance to make their political decisions, constant demand for quality leadership from those they voted into office.
Look at us, man, there is nothing. We are starving. Tinubu should please do something.
It's also important to having a Nigeria of everyone's dream. Join Oභɪx as it takes to task seasoned analysts, opinion makers, business professionals, and politicians on issues around politics, policies, governance, and leadership every Monday to Friday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. on your super dial. Mainland 98.3 FM will welcome you your mates as we discuss the situations.
We are back. back. It is still the Situation Room on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. My name is Sage Babalola. We started the show. We had a conversation with Obyx, CEO Obyx Technology, media executive, publisher of 9 News Nigeria, founder of My Life Nigeria, and a philanthropist. And we had a conversation about the journey to economic recovery. How exactly do we go about recovering from all the many economic woes that Nigeria have had to endure over the last couple years? What do we do? What's the way forward? And in trying to make sense of this, we started by analyzing the obvious problems that we have, because the first step to recovery is, of course, first admitting that you have a problem. We spoke about our growth progression in comparison with other countries like ourselves that were colonized and how they were able to fix their economy post independence. We spoke about the foundation of Nigeria's economic challenges and the role that leadership plays in all of this. We spoke about even neocolonialism, so to speak, the influence of the West and all these international financial organizations, their recommendations to the country, and how we have taken it hook, line, and sinker without considering our country-specific foundational issues. Even policy sequencing, knowing the right time to enact a policy flexibility, giving room for adjustment so that if a policy has a problem, it's easy for you to rectify said policy instead of putting policies in place that look like they've been cast in stone. Economic diversification is many sectors of the Nigerian economy that we can harness rather than this dependence on oil. The fact that anything goes wrong within the oil value chain, Nigeria is in total economic shambles. Many sectors of the economy that we should focus on: our manufacturing sector, our agricultural sector, there's tourism, focus on entrepreneurship amongst other things, and even leveraging our natural and human resources. And before I let my guests go, I asked the very important question of our social and ethnic division and how this is a problem. There are a lot of notions that have been perpetuated time and again, that certain regions are being developed more than certain regions, and that is why we're not growing as a nation. That's why some parts of the country continue to suffer economic setback while others seem to be progressing. And so until we harmonize, until we ensure equitable distribution of resources to every single region in the country, we might not achieve the kind of economic viability that we're looking for. And so let's have a conversation. Let's hear what you have to say. My guests have spoken to all of the questions that was posed, but we want to hear your perspective on the matter. In what ways do you think we can start to fix our economy? What recovery model do you have in your mind? If we are to fix our economy, how do we start? What do we do? Many countries of the world have gone through difficult times like us. There are countries that go through worse things. There are countries where to buy a loaf of bread, they have to go with a bag of money because their currency have been so devalued that it doesn't have any credibility whatsoever. To purchase a pen, you have to go with thousands of their currency just to purchase something as little as a pen. Countries have gone through worse, but they've been able to recover. India, for example, they've been able to take advantage of their population, and they've started doing that. They're now, you cannot overlook India when it comes to development in their medical field, in their technology. They have been able to grow. They've been able to set up models that allows them to progress as a nation. What recovery model should we adopt if we're serious about growth? 0913-6000-410 is the number to dial. Hello.
Hello, Sage.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Shola, and I'm calling in from Gᴏᴜᴛᴜ.
Nice to have you, sir. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so I found into this your question on the kind of maybe the kind of system or whatever. I don't know the name. Yeah, recovery model. So, but I don't know the name to call it. But what I know is that for us to be back on track, food and security is key. And there is something I've always been profiling, which I don't know the kind of leader. We don't have them now. Visionary leaders that can just, for example, in this, because you see all those boys that are raising their hands up and down, doing bow. If we can gather those people, we have arable land. It's my point. Take them to like a life camp. You understand? Maybe on that ḻegyọ̀sibàdàn expressway, even in the southwest, we have all the arable land all over the country, and I take them there, find that place, a life camp. Then let them plant, let them be massive farming. You understand? If we can do that, it's a starting point.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a saying in Yoruba, there's an adage that if food is out of the equation, out of the problem, that every other thing is solved. So with that, I know the security, you understand, it's going to put us back on track. That is just one of the many things that we can do.
Thank you so much for calling. Have a beautiful evening. Hello, good evening.
Hello. Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, welcome.
And also to your guest, good afternoon.
Yes.
My name is Dampi from Igondo.
Welcome.
What I want to say, the only way we can get ourselves from this problem or mess, you call it. Number one, when Germany they went into recession, how did they come out? A good government, what they do, they subsidize. What is the meaning of subsidy? That is the duty of a government. When the government cannot subsidize, then that nation's economy will fall down. Everything in that nation will crumble and paralyze, turn upside down. When Germany went into recession, what did they do? They did what they call a subsidy by electricity. They subsidize electricity for the companies and the individual citizens of their country. And they reduce the taxation rate. And they also subsidize food. That is how Germany came out of recession. Look at many countries today like China. They subsidize the transportation. They subsidize school fees. Look at in UK now. If you want to study medical science, they get subsidy so that you will go and learn. That is what our government is supposed to do. You took away the light that we have in our house. And how do you want us to see? That is the happiness of the common man in Nigeria, which is the last hope, which is called fuel. And you took it away and expect the country to grow. You have to subsidize fuel, electricity for the nation to grow. If Tinubu wants to make this country grow, let him bring back subsidy. Because he said that the rich ones are using it and they are not paying anything, and they are using it to punish us. It is very, very bad. You cannot take us for the rich and make us suffer. Bring back subsidy. You will see Nigerian economy will grow back. That is what I want to say.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your perspective. We appreciate you. We're basically asking you, what recovery model do you think is necessary for us as a country if we're going to get out of this situation? Mind you, there are policies in place. There are a number of policies that have been put in place by this administration, and we have the IMF telling us that you would enjoy these policies, maybe not immediately. It's not gratification in the exact moment, might not be what you will get from these policies, but delayed gratification is necessary if you want to enjoy these policies. 10 years, 15 years, you'll be grateful that these policies were put in place. So as we recover as a nation, what do we need to do, or what do we need to do to expedite our recovery? Like I said, Nigeria is not the first country to go through an economic downtime. Many countries have, but then they put in place a network of plans, succession. Time after time, they keep adjusting to their reality until they came out of that situation. Which one do you think we need to adopt? Hello.
Hello. Hey, good evening.
Good evening.
This is Okambolina.
All right.
You see, you heard what the last caller said. If you want to really get your economy back, it's not to overtax the people and kill them. There's no that, and you think your economy can come back. So when you overtax people, you are removing their purchasing power. You are making them weak, and the industries within your country, like they are doing right now, and you think you are doing well, you are not doing well. Everybody now is dying of hunger. You cannot even go to the market. You go to the market, you open your shop, nobody buys. So because government wants to collect all the money that they can collect and put in their own pocket. Meanwhile, if you want to get the economy back, start from yourself. You have to cut costs as a government. People cannot say you want to get the economy, and you have a bloated cabinet. You live large, You buy all kinds of luxury planes and luxury vehicles, and you are living like that than life. And you are telling me that there's no economy that goes back when you throw away money like that. So how do you come back? There's no economy that works. The way we are going, we continue sinking unless they go back and think very well and reduce all this stupendous spending that we are seeing from them.
Okay.
That's what I will tell them to do. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Well, so far we've heard cut down the cost of governance, subsidize basic amenities. What else? We're trying to build a plan here. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build an economic recovery and growth plan here. So you've suggested things like cut down the cost of governance. You suggested things like subsidize things like electricity, like fuel, amongst other things. So what else would you recommend if we're going to treat our economy, if you let me say that? Let's pause for a bit, take Facebook messages. Chris on YLM on Facebook says, good evening, Sage. The conversation with your guest was robust and interesting. However, the fact remains that the present leadership in the country appears not to have direction. Nigeria is blessed with so many natural and abundant human resources. Why can't our leaders create the enabling environment for small-scale businesses to thrive? The president should fix the power problem. He should fix the fuel crisis. He should have empathy for the suffering masses, create people-friendly policies, and stop being selfish with all of this policy somersault. All right, thank you very much. We appreciate you for your message. Mind you, Nigeria actually did have an economic recovery and growth plan, ERGP. It was like a medium-term plan for Nigeria. It was launched in 2016, I believe. It was supposed to help the country recover from recession and achieve sustainable economic growth at the time. But it did have several goals, economic growth, economic diversification. When we're saying we need to tap into mining, we need to start tapping into human resources. There was also infrastructure investment. This was all part of the plan. Invest in infrastructure, diversify the economy. There was create regulatory frameworks to allow for businesses to thrive, amongst other things. In fact, there was some sort of review to that economic growth plan of 2016. It became, I think, National Development Plan or thereabout. It became something else a few years later, but there was still a lot of there was a lot of contentious views on the policies and its success. Well, we never really saw the benefit of this particular plan. I think National Development Plan, yes, 2021 to 2025. That's what it became. But so far so good. All the initiative of that recovery plan, we've not seen it yet. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but I mean, the average person would say they've not felt the impact just about yet. So what do you think? Let's get your perspective on the subject matter. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, good evening.
Hello?
I'm with you. Good evening.
Good evening. You see,
tell us your name. Tell us your name.
But I must be from Sule.
Okay.
You see, any model we'll use, what we have as a problem is infrastructural development. That is about 80% deficit infrastructure at cost of money. Before any economy can grow, you need infrastructure, you need roads, you need so many things you need that you should you'll be able to motivate or incentivize the economy. You see, the problem between infrastructure and subsidizing the livelihood of Nigerians is a problem, because when you go out to borrow money, you have to pay. Even if the money borrowed is about say 25, 30, 40 years, you still have to pay the interest. And at a time, you have about 90% of our earnings using this earnings to pay this interest. So the IMF will come around and tell you, look, if you are unable to pay us the interest, because most of the banks that borrow Nigeria money, they go to IMF to monitor whether we are going to pay or not. They're kind of supervising the loan. So since we cannot pay the loan, then they ask us, if you are not paying this loan, as the interest on this loan that are well due, why must you give your people palliative? Why must you subsidize this, subsidize that? It's not of our making. It's because we borrowed a lot of money from abroad, and the IMF are supervising this loan we borrowed. So there's no way. There's no way. Can you get me?
I'm with you. Go ahead.
Yes, there's no way we can go about it. They ask you open your doors for all sorts of things to come into your country, and as all sorts of things come into the country, local production will get into trouble, because when I go out, I borrow money, I bring an idea and I develop the idea, and they bring everything that I have developed here into the country at a cheaper price.
Just to understand you, because you're saying that we should allow for local production and stop allowing for proliferation of imports.
Definitely, that is the GDP production. GDP, that is the real sector.
All right.
That's the real sector.
Thank you.
But by subsidizing, like giving palliative and all this and all that, it will cost the government a lot of money.
Okay, thank you. I'm so sorry. We need to allow more people talk. Just basically, you don't support subsidy, and you think that we should allow for local production rather than opening the border to allow for things to keep coming in. The summary of your perspective. Let's allow other people speak as well. Hello.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
This is Olayiwola.
Welcome.
Yeah, I just want to talk about the energy crisis that we are facing at this moment. You know, if you go to other world, energy security also will be the way government making a license available to an individual. They are abusing our energy security in the whole nation. If you look at it, people are always going into this business because of their pockets, not because of the security. And this is where the government gets it wrong. We talk about energy crisis today. We sell almost 50% of our NEPA. Instead of the crude oil that is supposed to be handled by common government, they took advantage of it and they give the license to people to even flood the market. These are the issues here. No any developing nation that is leaving their energy security in the heart of individual. Go and check it in the all over the world. Even America, they even give them ability to produce. But in terms of the control and to provide it and to also make a projection for the next future, they didn't handle it to an individual. This is where we get it wrong. And when the guest is talking about leadership, our leadership that never have a plan for the 20 years, 50 years, 100 years to this time. We are just coming in terms of 4 years development, and it cannot earn any result. Look at it. Look at the United development, nothing to earn. Look at the Buhari, nothing to earn. Look at the Obasanjo, because we are not even putting 50, 20 years development. These are the issues.
Thank you.
This is the way America is today. If the Democratic did not win, the Republican that is there, they will still maintain their social contract.
Thank you so very much. We appreciate you. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well, thank you, sir. Good evening.
Good afternoon. My name is Ambrose.
Welcome.
See, you see all these things that you are saying, we should bring suggestions and all of that. See, whatever suggestions that the government has brought, to me, they are okay. But do you know where the problem lies?
Where?
They are not leading by example. Let's assume with all these policies now, you know, petrol is so amount, this tax, that tax, then we see that the president did not travel for 1 year. Then we see that they are buying made in Nigerian cars. Then we see that they bring all their children back to come and start schooling here. Then we see that their convoy is no longer 2030. I'm talking of ministers now, not president. Then we also see that the light that they have told us they are giving us. Then we see that our leaders are making sacrifices. Koro with everybody like this. Nobody will complain. The policies are okay, but the policies are targeted towards the poor. It is not affecting them in any way whatsoever. Collect from the poor, squeeze them, and then continue to enrich yourself. You see them using the same money that they are taxing from us to fight each other, using it to give to judiciary, using it to fight. So this is the problem. It's not that the policies are not good. The problem I told you, and then now when they give them federal allocation, they just go and buy dollars. That's why recently the presidency said that if you have dollars with you, go and deposit them in a bank. These are the problems. We have not seen any form of commitment from the executive all over the federation.
Thank you.
God bless you.
God bless you too. This is our last call for the evening. Hello.
Good evening to you, Sage. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
It's Engineer Neil from Yaba.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, the way forward for Nigeria to improve our economy. It is good that we need infrastructural development and go away from this deficit we are having now. And how can we appropriate that? We have resources which have to be well enacted. We need to appropriate our energy, that is electricity, the fuel and oil and gas. Our refineries should be put on stream. We are the one that have the crude oil. The people that we voted in to rule us, they know that they know how to do business. That is why they came on board. And then we come on board that you know how to do business, use what we have to get what we want. Then you put on your thinking cap and appropriate it and give us the result. That is what we expect. So the result, the issue is that let our refineries be working. Let us also let them work with that of the Tɣᴇ, and we have fuel. We have to use and we export. As we are given Niger, Republic of Guinea and Togo electricity, let it be sufficient for all also to produce in Nigeria. Can we use what we have, not to depend on importation that will overstress our foreign exchange? That will give us a balance of payment. These are the way to go, not to overtax the people. We don't even need we don't need all this subsidy or no subsidy. If you give us subsidy and we remove it from other place and we are hungry, let us produce. We have enough that we don't even need to subsidize in any way. Use your thinking, put on your thinking cap, use your initiative to produce for Nigeria, for Nigeria consumption, and for export to have a foreign exchange that will be sufficient for every one of us. Don't overtax us and separate your own business from national business, government business. Now we have time to serve Nigeria the way they expect that we are sworn in to serve Nigeria. Because you said our welfare and security is your form of account as in the constitution. And then let it be signed in sacrosanct. That is what is expected. God bless Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Oh, that's our last call for the evening. We appreciate you for your insight. A lot of you have recommended quite a number of things. If we are to recover, what do we need to do? Some of you have said, well, no subsidy because it takes too much from the government. Another one of you said that to shut the borders and encourage local production. The fact that we continue to encourage importation is why our manufacturing sector in the country continues to suffer. Some of you actually say subsidy is the way, because other countries of the nation, when they go into recession, what they do is they try to take care of small businesses. They subsidize for small businesses, and it was good on their journey to recovery. But then as we are building our own model, we can only hope that the national development model of the government, the 2021 to 2025 model, actually works out, because it involves quite a number of things: economic diversification, infrastructural development, encouraging entrepreneurship, amongst other things. Yes, taxation is a part of it, because many economies of the world actually depend heavily on taxation. But we need to also consider country-specific issues. So whatever model you are curating, or whatever model you are copying from another country, you have to tailor it to suit your own specific problems. All we can do is depend on the government and hope that they make the right decisions regarding the welfare of the Nigerian people. As always, I deeply appreciate your desire to join the program. I even more so appreciate your desire to participate, to call, to text, and tell us what you feel or opine on the matters that we bring on radio. Thank you so very much for giving us your time. Well, this is it for today. I'm about to leave the studio. The news would be with you at 5:30. Don't go anywhere. We're Mainland 98.3 FM. After the news, you have the sports crew here to tell you what's going on in the world of sport. I'm Sage Babalola. The station is Mainland 98.3 FM, and we'll be back.
Mainland 98.3 FM. Don't touch the dial. 98.3 FM. Don't touch the dial.